Gypsy Rose Blanchard is one of the most infamous people to have ever been involved in plotting to end someone's life, her own mother. She has done several TV interviews as a prisoner, appeared on TV shows like Dr. Phil, has participated in several documentaries, even has a mini-series based on her story, and currently has over 7 million followers on Instagram. Yo, this girl has more followers than Jack Harlow.
I'm vanilla, baby. I'll choke you, but I ain't no killer, baby.
And currently, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is breaking the internet because she was recently released from prison after serving 8 years of a 10-year sentence for her involvement in the murder of her mother. This girl got out of prison and she has been interviewed by all of the major news networks. She's been on ABC, she's been on The View, she's been on CNN. She says she wants to meet Taylor Swift. She says that she would like Bobby Millie Brown to play her in a movie about her life, even though she already has a movie about her life. And there are so many people who are praising Gypsy Rose for her survival story. And while I think we can all agree that she was a victim of her mother's Munchausen by proxy syndrome, I don't think we should be praising her for her actions, and I will explain why. Hello everyone, if you're a new viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If this is your second, third, fourth time watching one of my videos and you're not yet subscribed, we already go together. Okay, make it official and hit that subscribe button. Today, we are going to be talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. I have watched quite a few documentaries and interviews and specials about Gypsy Rose over the years, so even prior to making this video, I was pretty familiar with the story, but there actually was one piece of information about Dee Dee that I had never heard before. Dee Dee, also known as Claudine Blanchard, was possibly the victim of Munchausen by proxy herself.
When Dee Dee was born, my mom said that she came along with all these sicknesses, heart murmur and stuff like that.
My mom would always make us go play outside, and it was like, oh, well, your sister's not feeling good. Your sister's got an upset stomach. She's got a headache. Y'all go play outside, be quiet, leave her alone, you know.
But Dee Dee was basically not as sick as it was to believe.
My mom smothered her. She didn't want her to grow up. She wanted to keep her young so that she would always have her to hold on to.
So according to Dee Dee's siblings, she was treated very similarly to the way that she would eventually treat Gypsy Rose. Gypsy Rose Blanchard was born July 27, 1991 to her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. When Gypsy Rose was just 3 months old, Dee Dee was convinced that the infant had sleep apnea and began taking her to the hospital, where repeated overnight stays with a sleep monitor and other tests found no sign of the condition. Dee Dee subsequently became convinced that Gypsy had a wide range of health issues, which she attributed to an unspecified chromosomal disorder. So immediately it was evident that Dee Dee had Munchausen by proxy syndrome. Munchausen by proxy syndrome is a psychological disorder where a caretaker has an individual in their care and pretends that person is sick or injured, or deliberately makes that person sick or injured. They often do this to receive attention, praise, and often even financial gain. Most Munchausen by proxy cases are perpetrated by mentally ill mothers onto their children, and these were the illnesses that Dee Dee claimed Gypsy Rose suffered with.
Asthma, epilepsy, hearing impaired, vision impaired, fed with a feeding tube, paralyzed from the waist down, slow, so retardation.
She also claimed that Gypsy Rose had a drooling problem and had her salivary glands removed. The lack of salivary glands, coupled with the side effects of the anti-seizure medication that she was given, caused Gypsy Rose's already few teeth to decay to the point that the majority of her front teeth were extracted and replaced by a bridge. Also, when Gypsy Rose was 7 years old, she was involved in a minor car accident, and following the accident, Dee Dee claimed that Gypsy Rose had been paralyzed from the waist down and insisted that Gypsy Rose needed a wheelchair, which she did not. It seems as though Dee Dee gave multiple reasons for Gypsy Rose's alleged paralyzation. There's also medical records which state that Gypsy Rose had muscular dystrophy, which she didn't. Although Gypsy knew she could walk and did so when no one was around, she played along with the con to appease Dee Dee. I think we can all agree that all of these unnecessary medical procedures was child abuse, and she did it not only to gain sympathy from others, but also for financial gain.
In between hospital stays, Gypsy frequently jet sets across the country. Ball games, galas, the most magical place on earth, Disney World.
Make-A-Wish, we're taking her down to Orlando, all expenses paid and everything.
Right now, I'm in Cinderella's castle eating some royal mashed potatoes.
She even got to meet country superstars Miranda Lambert and then husband Blake Shelton.
Miranda Lambert
Yes.
came to Springfield a few times, and I think she gave Dee Dee and Gypsy money.
Yes, she did. Look at this $3,500 check from the singer's personal account. But that wasn't all. Check her out posing with her favorite actors, Elijah Wood and Sean Astin from Lord of the Rings.
In 2005, Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose became homeless when they lost their home to Hurricane Katrina, but their celebrity status and heart-wrenching story landed them a custom-built home from Habitat for Humanity. Having a supposedly sick child came with many benefits, but how did Dee Dee get away with it for so long? Well, firstly, Dee Dee was a nurse, so she was very knowledgeable about medications, illnesses, and symptoms, so she would bring Gypsy Rose to the doctor and convince the doctor that Gypsy Rose had symptoms that the doctor was not able to see for themselves. Despite the fact that the doctors didn't see the symptoms, they trusted her because of her persuasive skills and her nursing background. Secondly, Gypsy Rose says that Dee Dee never let her be alone with the doctors, and she didn't let Gypsy Rose speak during the appointments. The only time Gypsy was allowed to be alone with a doctor is when she was undergoing surgery. Thirdly, when Hurricane Katrina happened and they moved to another state, this was the perfect opportunity to start new with new doctors, and when they asked for Gypsy's medical records, Dee Dee claimed everything was destroyed in the hurricane. There were doctors who suspected Dee Dee was lying about Gypsy Rose's health problems, but none intervened.
Around August 2007, Gypsy came with her mother for neurological assessment. But at the time, the interaction was mainly with the mother. She says she has muscular dystrophy, and she has cerebral palsy, that she had a seizure disorder or epilepsy. And so I asked for Gypsy's medical records. Gypsy's mother said she doesn't have no records because everything got lost in the storm. Because there were no records to be obtained, I had to base trust and rely on what the mother told me at the time. The volume of her muscles were normal. They were well sized and her reflexes were normal, meaning that it kind of didn't make sense that she would not be able to walk. So she was referred to have an MRI, and it was completely normal. I told mom that I don't see any reason why she shouldn't be able to stand up and walk. Where she was mad, said she was not coming back. When her reaction was not as expected, I said that I have a suspicion that this is not real. This is fabricated or exaggerated. That's when I said that this is suspicious of munchausen by proxy. So my duty was to tell the pediatrician in my report.
By virtue of his even considering the diagnosis means he needed to pick up the phone and call Child Protective Services. And he failed to do so, as did other doctors.
If I would have reported her, I believe that the mother would have convinced them that what I'm saying is not true. I needed more to be able to report them to child services.
If you have a reasonable suspicion that you're making in good faith, you are protected and required to make the report.
That doctor who gave that lame excuse that he didn't intervene because he didn't think anyone would believe him is actually still working as a pediatrician. He is currently working in Florida. And someone recently left him this Google review. Don't go here. This doc will misdiagnose you and completely ignore the signs. Anyways, as Dee Dee continued to capitalize off of her daughter, Gypsy Rose had been secretly using online chat rooms and dating sites to meet men. Gypsy Rose says for many years her mother lied to her about her real age, and it wasn't until she was 19 years old that she finally discovered the truth. Upset by the revelation, she ran away to meet with a man that she had found online. The next morning, Dee Dee had managed to locate Gypsy Rose and brought her back home. Gypsy Rose says Dee Dee smashed her cell phone, her computer, and chained her to the bed for 2 weeks. At some point following the incident, the devices were replaced and Gypsy Rose continued to use online chat rooms, and in October of 2012, that's where she met Nick Godejohn.
Godejohn also has a criminal past. In 2013, he was arrested after investigators say he was watching pornography and fondling himself in a McDonald's restaurant for 9 hours. Police finding a large knife during the arrest.
I don't know how much he told you about me, but it's actually multiple personalities of myself.
Have you been diagnosed with that?
I probably should be diagnosed with it because it happens The thing is, I used to take medication. I used to hear voices in my head.
Okay.
And it went away, and then it somehow went as part of myself.
Okay.
So,
Does Gypsy know that?
yes,
Okay.
she does know that.
Nick Godejohn is said to have Asperger's and will always have the mental capacity of a 16-year-old boy. And as we saw in the clip, he is a sexual deviant who has mental health problems. Nick and Gypsy meeting was a perfect concoction for tragedy. He is mentally unwell, and there's a part of me that believes he would likely have turned out to be a violent offender, even without Gypsy Rose nudging him in that direction. Nick and Gypsy continued to talk online, and late at night while Dee Dee was sleeping, Gypsy Rose would send provocative photos of herself to Nick. As their relationship intensified, Nick and Gypsy began floating the idea of running away together, and at some point, Gypsy Rose brought up the idea of killing Dee Dee. Gypsy Rose says over the years they would circle back to the conversation and brainstorm ways to do it, such as burning the house down, shooting Dee Dee, poisoning Dee Dee, but during those times they never actually built up the courage to go through with it, and Gypsy said that she didn't think she could do it herself. 4 years into their relationship, Gypsy Rose was finally ready to meet her online boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, in real life. So Gypsy Rose made plans with her mom to see the live-action Cinderella. Simultaneously, she also paid for Nick's bus ticket and his movie ticket to see the same showing of Cinderella. Her plan was to act as if she didn't know who Nick was, that he was just some random guy that she met in the theater and struck up conversation with, and hopefully her mother would approve of him and they'd be able to openly have a friendship that could bloom into a relationship with her mother being knowledgeable of it.
She wanted to have sex with me, so I did.
Okay. She wanted to have sex with you?
Yes.
Wow. Did her mom know?
We kept it from her mom.
Okay. Where did you have sex at in the theater?
It was in a bathroom.
Okay. In a girl's bathroom or boys' bathroom?
She just took me to the boys' bathroom. I didn't have any choice. I went right into the boys' bathroom. I guess she was okay with it.
Okay. Okay. And then what happened after you guys had sex at the theater?
We went to our movie and watched it.
As soon as Dee Dee saw Nick, she didn't like him. After the movie theater plan didn't go the way that they had hoped, Gypsy Rose says she got desperate to be with Nick. And this is when the conversation about killing Dee Dee resurfaces. On June 9th, 2015, Gypsy Rose and Nick decided to execute their plan. Gypsy Rose gave Nick a pair of gloves, a knife, and directions to where her mother lay sleeping. Gypsy says she hid in the bathroom with her hands over her ears while Nick did the deed. And afterwards, the two had sex in Gypsy Rose's bedroom. After this, they ran off, leaving tons of evidence behind them.
He's eating a brownie. But later he will be eating me.
That was the knife that he had stabbed her to death with. They mailed it from their house there to your house.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am. And that was located in your house.
Once they reached Nick's house, they even put a post on Facebook saying this.
That bitch is dead.
A neighbor, who was also a friend, saw the post on Facebook and called the police to do a welfare check where they would find Dee Dee's dead body. When Nick and Gypsy were taken into police custody, Gypsy maintained that she had no idea what was going on. She didn't know why the police picked her up. She had no idea what was going on with her mother. She pretended to be surprised when they told her her mother was dead.
Your mom's passed away, okay? And she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this? Okay. Just, hang on, listen to me for just a second, okay? I want you to understand something, okay?
Meanwhile, when the police were interrogating Nick, he admitted it. Nick didn't even try to lie. He told the police what he did and why he did it. Even after the two were arrested and charged, Gypsy maintained her innocence.
I'm innocent. It's a complicated situation, but what they say on the news is not true.
Once all of the evidence began to pile up against Gypsy, she began to tell the truth about her involvement in the murder. On December 28, 2023, Gypsy Rose was released from prison after serving 8 years of her 10-year sentence, and she is currently on parole. Since she's been out, she's done several interviews, and one of the questions that she keeps getting asked is how does she feel that her accomplice, Nick Godejohn, is still in prison and she isn't? And this is her response.
But he will spend the rest of his life in jail. How do you feel about that? How do you kind of reconcile that?
I know that we both probably have a lot of regrets. I know I have regrets. I can't speak for him, so I really don't know his side of things. All I know is, you know, I did my time, he's doing his time. That's all the best that I could do at this point. Like, for me, I have to focus on myself right now. I can't look in the past and worry about him or anything else going on. I have to prioritize myself in this moment.
I personally thought her answer was kind of cold. I expected her to express a bit more empathy for Nick Godejohn getting a more severe prison sentence than her. Also, during this appearance on The View, we got to meet Gypsy Rose's husband, who she married while she was in prison. Some people have poked fun at Ryan Anderson, saying that he looks weird and creepy, and some people have actually pointed out that he shares physical similarities to her mother, Dee Dee. I mean, they're not wrong. Personally, I think he looks more like Peter Griffin, but Gypsy Rose was having none of it. She told off the trolls who were talking about her man.
Ryan, don't listen to the haters. I love you and you love me. We do not owe anyone anything. Our family is who matters. If you get likes and good comments, great. If you get hate, then whatever, because they don't matter. I love you. Besides, they jealous because you are rocking my world every night. Yeah, I said it. The D is fire. Fire emoji. Happy wife, happy life.
Who said I gave a damn about what these jealous people say anyway? Haha. Now come get it, baby.
That's gross. They're gross. No one wants your man, Gypsy Rose. You can have him, okay? All of him. All of that is yours. Good for you. Many of Gypsy Rose's supporters are happy for her. She has found love and she finally gets to be free and live a full and happy life. And I honestly want the best for her, but I have to be honest, I think there's something off about her man. I think it's very weird for someone to write a letter to someone in prison who they don't personally know, with the hopes of having a romantic relationship with that person. When I think of the personality profile of someone who writes a letter to an infamous prisoner, the personality profile that I think of is someone who's a loner, someone who has problems forming and keeping romantic relationships in the real world. They probably fantasize a lot and they see the person in prison as a part of their fantasy. He just seems like a red flag to me. And as far as Gypsy Rose, everything that she went through was egregious. What her mother did to her was wrong, and I'm not going to make excuses for it or minimize it, but I think it's also important to acknowledge that Gypsy Rose had many chances to do the right thing, but she didn't. When Gypsy Rose was 19 years old, she ran away to be with a man she met online. But she never once ran away to speak to the police about her abuse. She was a legal adult, so they wouldn't be able to force her to go back home. And hypothetically speaking, after going to the police, she could have gone to live with her father. She had maintained a relationship with him throughout the years, so that was always an option. Also, all of the late nights that she spent on dating websites looking for boyfriends, she could have easily sent her father an email, a text, called him, messaged him on Facebook, done any of those things, and told him what was going on, but she never did that either. She even told Nick Godejohn what was going on, but she never once asked him to go to the police to help her. Like I mentioned, at that point she was a legal adult. She was 23 years old. The police would never have forced her to go back home to her mother. She also had a close friendship with one of her neighbors, and they often spoke on Facebook, and she trusted her enough to tell her about Nick and to tell her about how she was in love with Nick and she wanted to marry him and she wanted to have his babies, but she never once told this friend about what was going on with her mother. Gypsy Rose had a secret Facebook account with many people she could have told, but she never did. And the catalyst for killing Dee Dee was that Dee Dee didn't like Nick, and the two of them wanted to be together. Many people view Gypsy Rose's actions as self-defense, and had Gypsy Rose been fleeing from her mother specifically because she no longer wanted to undergo these unnecessary medical procedures, then I would 100% agree. But her motivations were specifically to be with Nick Godejohn, and I find those motives to be questionable, but ultimately, murder is wrong, and I just don't think it should ever be glorified. Anyways, those are my thoughts. If you liked this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. Whenever you hit the like button, it really helps me in the algorithm, and I appreciate that. If you'd like to find me on other social media platforms, I have Instagram and I have Patreon, both of which I will have linked in the description box down below. And if you liked this video, and you would like to see more like it, I will have 2 more videos linked for you in the end cards. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.